Hey Scott, how are you?
It's the slide too. Yeah, so some brief timeline for this. In June, we reached out to the MPO Engineering Subcommittee for their comments on the DOT's draft targets. We did not receive any comments. Now in July, we're going to the MPO Technical Committees and Executive Committees for their feedback. Then in August, when the DOT approves their final safety targets, we can go back then to adopt them before the February 27th deadline. If you have any questions on these targets, I can take them.
So is the DOT doing targets for the entire state, or are they actually providing targets for the metro?
It will be for the entire state, but we'll continue to report metro specific targets. We just won't adopt them. But
all right. Any other questions for Z? All right, thank you. We'll move on to item number 8 is a report on the Purple Heart Highway update from Todd.
Real quick, we've put the studies on hold that we drafted the scope of services with, pending some other discussions. Chair Gatto and Vice Chair McCoy are going to go out to DC on January or July 20th to meet with the congressional delegation to discuss the designation and have some face-to-face time with them out there. And then I don't know, they may look to meet with some of the DOT officials as well. That hasn't been scheduled yet, but we've got meetings scheduled with the 3 congressional delegations. So that's kind of where we're at right now.
Thanks, Todd. Any questions?
So what's the purpose of the trip?
The main purpose of the trip is to talk with the senators and representatives about the redesignation and kind of help on the political side of this process to move forward with the designation, in particular on the overweight issue on interstates. We're going to need some help there.
The weight's the biggest issue, Ted, and it hasn't been changed for years. And so we need to have some time with our senators and congresswomen to see if even a possibility before we go any further.
Thanks, Joe.
Any other questions for Todd?
Are any of the ag interests participating in that meeting? Since I imagine the weight is largely an ag commerce issue.
It is an ag commerce issue. In particular, their grain trailers during harvest are 88,000 pounds. And while that is allowed to run on a US highway, it's not allowed to run on an interstate, even though it'll be the same facility. Your government at work there. In this particular case, no, we haven't invited them to that, though we've talked to them about this, or about the issue and how we're supporting the ag interests in this, and that'd be the message to the delegation as well.
Yeah, this is to try to figure out how to use the highway and redesignate it and use it together with the ag community, because it's not going to work unless they have that route in place. Any other questions or comments? We'll move on to item number 9 is a report on the Economic Development District update from Gunnar.
Good morning, everyone. Just as a reminder of the overarching process of setting up an economic development district, we have gone through phase 1. There's full support for it, and we are in the middle of phase 2, which is the creation of the entity that will ultimately become the EDD. We are well on our way there. And then once we get through that, we'll go enter the designation phase and then finally get into the operational phase by next year. I just have the one slide for you here today. We are obviously in slide, we're working through defining a project selection process for projects to be included in the sets. We're also working on the draft of the SEDS document itself. And in August, we'll move into the review and revision of the final document for submission. We did touch base with EDA staff again recently. They're continuing to be very supportive and guiding of this process. We will be going out to stakeholders for review of the draft document once that is drafted. We recently, put out a survey sharing the draft SWOT analysis and goals. We received 76 responses. The majority of those, are about 2/3, came from representatives of cities and counties, potential members of the entity. The SEDS 3 committees meet again next week. And then we also engaged legal counsel to draft 504 bylaws and corporation documents. And once that step is occurred, we will then seek IRS status. That is it for me, unless I can answer any questions.
Gunnar, thanks. Any questions, comments for Gunnar? All right, I hear none. We'll move on to item number 10 is a report on the transload facility and update from Zach.
Thank you. Just wanted to give you our monthly update on where we're at with the transload facility development. Staff is currently preparing our quarterly report, which we'll submit to the Federal Railroad Administration on July 30th. This will cover the project period of April 2021 through June 2021. As far as construction goes, they're currently putting up the warehouse walls. If you drive by the site, it's pretty cool thing to see. Additionally, some updates we got from them. They are having some track sourcing issues. So the steel mill that they had ordered their track from actually blew up 3 or 4 weeks ago. So they're having some issues with that. They're exploring some alternative options. One option they're looking at is actually getting class 1 high-speed rail that is basically, it's no longer safe enough for high-speed conditions, but could still be used in the transload facility. They would just switch the rail around so it was running on the outside edge that was fine to use. So they're looking at some options like that. They do not think it's going to ultimately impact the schedule because they were already having kind of delayed the track installation because of the waterworks work that's being done. So that's the basic update. I do have some more images to share with you. It's kind of a bird's eye view of the site. You can see they pretty much got all the groundwork done. You can really kind of get a good view in the center of the image there of the warehouse pad. This is obviously right before they started putting up the warehouse walls. This image here gives you an idea of what those warehouse wall panels look like. Basically, they drive them in one at a time and crane them onto the foundation. It's pretty cool thing to see them do. Here's another angle of that. And then there's an angle of the front of the building. That little bottom portion there is going to be where the office is located. Again, exciting to see some actual vertical infrastructure starting to go up on the site. I would note that Paul and Gabe said that if anybody wants to come out and do a tour of the site, I know some of our committee members have already done that. But if anybody else is interested in coming out and looking at the site, a little tour, please let us know and we'll put you in contact with Paul so you can get that scheduled. That's all I have, unless there's any questions.
Sorry, I lost connection. I didn't know if you were done or not.
Yeah, he's done.
Okay. Item number 11, unless anyone had any questions or comments, I literally just got back on. Item number 11 is report on the water trails update from Todd.
No, thank you. Everything continues on track with project plan design and submittals for that. Environmental review, Corps and DNR permits are progressing and look to be on schedule as well. And right now we've got the agreements, as I mentioned earlier, almost finalized, just kind of going back through all of them and cleaning up a little language. And then we'll share those out later this month and then bring them back through the committees for approval. The city's going to be doing the same thing on their side as well later in August. So we were trying to match the timelines up with that. Happy to answer any questions.
Thanks, Todd. Any questions?
Our
I
motion
hear none.
on
Oh, go
track.
ahead.
Sorry, Joe. I mean, I know we just approved it at our council meeting recently. Are most municipalities on track? You know, with these?
Yeah, I think the 2080 agreements are moving forward with most of them to be in place by the end of the summer. It doesn't really impact, that process doesn't really impact the build grant agreements, but it's going along concurrently.
Yeah.
Anyone voted it down?
I don't think anyone that's brought it forward has voted it down, no.
The only no that they've received is a winter set. We approved our 2080 agreement for the county yesterday.
Yeah, that's the biggest share, I think.
I can follow up on that.
Thanks, Todd. Any other questions for Todd? Comments? All right, item number 12 is a legislative update from Dylan.
Thank you. Just a quick update on reauthorization. Last time we talked, the House T&I committee had passed a version of their reauthorization bill, which they call the Invest Act, out on July 1st. That was passed by the full House along party lines. At the same time, the Senate has been, the Senate and the President have been negotiating their version of the bill. A bipartisan committee of 10 members, so 5 from each party, have agreed on a bill to go forward. However, right now it's just sort of an outline with some dollar amounts to it. There's not a lot of details to that yet. It also looks like President Biden wants to move that forward with the reconciliation bill, and he won't do one without the other. And so that's causing a little consternation, it looks like, from each party, knowing that they don't want to basically be forced into it because they want to pass the other bill. So still too early to say what exactly will happen with that Senate bill and whether they'll enter into a conference committee on, trying to patch those two things together in the coming months, but something like that will likely happen. So that's what we have right now. If there's any questions on that, I'm happy to take them, but otherwise we'll keep you updated in the subsequent months.
Thanks, Dylan. Any questions for Dylan? All right, I hear none. I'll move on to item 13 is a report on the upcoming events from Gunner.
Hello again, a handful of events and opportunities to make you aware of. This first here is to the elected individuals on the committee, which would be all of you, obviously. An opportunity to apply to be part of an institute where you can become a champion of complete streets. So it's basically a course where you can be indoctrinated fully in the value of complete streets. So the application deadline is July 15th, if you are interested in that. I do have the URLs here. I'm going to send the URLs to all of you afterwards, so you have them directly. Some of them are ferociously long. Next up, a couple of workshops connecting environment and transportation. How we move matters here, just the connection and the interplay between transportation and our ability to adapt to the changing climate. So again, coming up later this month, the URL to follow in the email. Another thing, rapidly changing virtual public involvement through the pandemic that has changed. If you or members of your staff were interested in seeing how some of the different states have used this for the last 18 months, there's be presentations by a few state DOTs and some of their innovative practices. Again, coming up later this month, I think it's July 2015. And also at the exact same time, exact same day, so we have to choose which one you attend, is the webinar on public transit as a climate solution. That's it for me, unless you have questions.
Any questions for Gunner? All right, item 14 is other non-action items of interest to the committee. Todd, do you have anything?
No, I don't.
Anybody?
Yeah, hi, Joe. This is Andy with DOT. I have one. We have a project on Douglas Avenue, US 6, from Merle Hay Road to Lower Beaver Road. That's going to be a full closure this weekend, starting Friday night to Monday morning, early Monday morning, and that will be a resurfacing / road diet. So We're gonna be resurfacing that and then putting in the 3-lane conversion. So striping in accordance with your guys' plan. And, you know, we've been working with your folks along this way, but this is when the project is actually getting done. So thought it'd be worthwhile to talk about.
Great. Thank you, Andy.
You're welcome.
Anybody else? Our next meeting date, since we don't have a policy meeting this month, our next meeting date is August 11th at 11:30. We'll see everybody then, and everybody enjoy the rest of the month. This meeting's adjourned. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
That's the way we like them to go. Yes. So, these are the lemon. Go to Lululemon.